Welcome to my channel. I'm Elizabeth Liz Muschett, and joining me today is Justin Crockett Elzie, fellow astrologer, friend, and colleague. And welcome, Justin. How you doing today?
Thank you, Liz. I'm excited to talk about these crazy energies right now with this, and the Sagittarius moon is going to just make things even crazier. So let's let's talk about it.
Yes, we're going to talk about the full moon forecast with Sagittarius 2025. Justin's an archetypal and Jyotish astrologer, teacher, author, and Buddhist. And the best way to contact him is through email, justin.elzie@gmail.com. And I'm Elizabeth Liz Muschett, astrologer, author, intuitive teacher, Dwarf Planet University graduate, and certified relationship astrologer. And my website is alightpath.com. And we always enjoy hearing from you. So we're talking about that full moon in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is of the mutable modality, about completing and finishing things up, the fire element of action, ruled by Jupiter, planet of expansion. Full moons are a culmination point. They prepare us to move forward, and it's a time of to let go and release. And Sagittarius is all about exploration, and the Gemini Sun, which is opposite that moon, is about communication. Would you like to add anything, Justin?
No, I think you got it covered there. Good summary.
And this Sagittarius full moon is also called the strawberry moon on June 11th at 12:45 or 44 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and that would be 3:44 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the moon's at 20 degrees Sagittarius in 39 minutes, and the sun's at 20 degrees Gemini in 39 minutes. And we're using the astrology chart for Seattle, Washington. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, so one of the things we always look at the show is to see what lunar mansions or nakshatras that the sun or the moon, and when we do the full moon show, we look at both luminaries, the sun and the moon, because it gives us another insight into the energies that are in play during this time period. So the sun is in the nakshatra Mrigashri, and it's in the first pada, the first section, which is ruled by fire. And the ruling planet here is Mars. This is what's called the searching star for this particular nakshatra, and the ruling deity is Soma, which is actually the god of the moon. Even though we're talking about the sun being in this nakshatra, the deity here is the moon goddess, and the symbol is the deer's head. It's always searching, and the basis above is to extend, and the basis below is to weave. So this is a very some people call this a little bit of a fleckless, reckless, fleckless, whatever you want to say, because it's a little deer kind of energy oriented. So it's always looking to express and to search and explore. Again, why it's called the searching star. So very much really about the energy of this Sagittarius moon, right? That likes to expand and grow. So let's go ahead and look at the moon Chandra here, and it's in a nakshatra Jayestha in the third pada here, and this, of course, this is pada is ruled by a air sign. It's called the elder star here because the ruling deity is Indra. It's the chief of the gods, sort of like Zeus or Jupiter. And so it's Indra was the chief of the gods and also the god of lightning. Keyword here is altruism, because the Navamsa, or the ruling air sign for this pada, is Aquarius, and the ruling planet is Mercury. And the symbol we have here is an umbrella. There's also a couple other symbols, but the symbols are reflecting that this is a protective nakshatra. So there's protective talismans of any type are the symbols for this nakshatra, for this moon. And the basis above is to attack, and the basis below is defend. So a lot of times when we see a person have planets in the sign, especially like, let's say, Mercury, This is a type of person that's going to hold on to a position, and they're going to attack and defend any type of beliefs or anything of that sort. So this is sort of a very debate, fight, attack, and defend type of energy. And again, kind of reflects the energy of this moon, and of course the squares that we're going to talk about today in the astrology.
Great. So it's kind of like Sagittarius. I always think of um, they tell their story, and what they say their truth is their truth, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the truth, and they'll defend it in a way. So that kind of goes right along with it, I think.
Yeah.
So we have some favorable activities on this full moon, and I'll let Justin lead us through that.
Sure. So I looked at these from a more positive standpoint, but I'm definitely going to give you some people insight into how to navigate these energies right now. So, travel, movement, and exploration in any how do you want to say aspects, doesn't necessarily have to be travel, but exploration in any way of exploring a new subject or traveling. Any type of exploration right now is a good activity for this Sagittarius moon. Celebrating first responders and veterans, caregiving responsibilities for your parents or family, strategic planning, research, education, writing, brewing, or public speaking, art and creative pursuits, healing and rejuvenation, and spiritual initiations. And how we came up with these is based on the signs that the two luminaries are in, which is Gemini and Sagittarius, which all those things are themes for that, and also based on the nakshatras, that the lunar mansions that the two luminaries are in, is how we came up with those.
Well, I like that you suggested that we add that. That gives it, another flavor. So I appreciate that, Justin.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're looking at the chart for Seattle, and the ascendant is at 27 degrees Aquarius. It's circled in orange. And the chart ruler is Saturn, their traditional ruler, and Saturn is in Aries, and Uranus, the modern ruler, is in Taurus. Then the midheaven at the top of the chart is circled in green at 14 degrees Sagittarius, and its ruler is Jupiter in Cancer. The sun is circled in blue, and it's at 20 degrees Gemini, and its ruler is Mercury in Cancer. And the moon is at 20 degrees Sagittarius, circled in purple, and its ruler is Jupiter in Cancer. So we have 2 points that are ruled by Jupiter. Would you like to add anything?
Well, I think this is really a great time just to kind of step back and say, we're looking at all these rulers, and every one of these rulers in this chart is involved in a square in this chart. Uranus, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn, they're all involved in a square right now. If there's, I don't know how you feel about this, Liz, but this is probably one of the most definitive inflection points in the year right now, this moon and the different squares that we're going to talk about. It's almost like we need to kind of step back and just take them in and understand them as to how we navigate these squares right now. And it's actually reflective of what's going on in the collective right now.
Well, and it's also reflecting that those rulers, have some oomph or more power and emphasis with the sun and moon to create a full moon. So there's like the planets behind those positions also. It's like it all
Right.
plays together. It's not just one thing.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about the Sabian symbols and just a brief explanation. They were channeled in 1925 by spiritualist medium Elzie Wheeler with the assistance of Mark Edmund Jones. Mr. Jones believed Elsie had tapped into the ancient mind matrix, and each phrase is basically a symbolic image for each degree of the zodiac. There's 360 of them. So we're going to start with the ascendant, and I'll let Justin start. And we do 3 symbols. The one before the degree is the lead up, then the degree of is the now, and then the next one is what's next. And Justin will start.
Yeah, and also to explain, we like we would normally with any reading of any chart, we look at the Sabians for the Ascendant first, and how we're moving forward into this full moon, and then of course we look at the Sabians for the midheaven, which is ultimately what we're trying to accomplish, and then we're looking at the Sabians for the two luminaries, and you start to see when you do this um, a running theme, basically. So we're going to start with the Ascendant, as Liz said. And so looking at Aquarius 26 degrees, it's a garage man testing a car's battery with a hydrometer. And the keynote here is skill in applying knowledge of natural laws to the solution of everyday problems resulting from life in our technological society. And the key phrase is a symbol of mental efficiency right now.
And then the degree that it's at the time is Aquarius 27, an ancient pottery bowl filled with fresh violets. And the keynote, the importance of traditional skills and artistic values deeply rooted in man's instinctive feelings as frames of reference for man's most authentic emotions. And the key phrase is a symbol of delicacy of feelings.
And then this next symbol, I want everybody to really pay attention to, because we're going to see the same subject or idea concept again, and that is Aquarius 28 degrees, a tree felled and sawed to ensure a supply of wood for the winter, knowledge and skill used in its natural surroundings for the satisfaction of vital basic needs. And the key phrase here is intelligent foresight. We're going to see this again in a minute.
Yeah, we have that mental efficiency, and then the delicacy of our feelings and the foresight. So using those all together is important, I would say.
Yep.
Okay, now we're going to go to the midheaven, which is at 14 degrees Sagittarius. And we're going to start the degree before of what led up. The lead up, so Sagittarius 13 is a widow's past brought to light, and the keynote, the karma of past actions as it affects opportunities presented by a new cycle. The key phrase is a symbol of retribution.
And then Sagittarius 14 is the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, the enduring power of occult knowledge and its quasi divine custodians, seedmen of a previous cycle of existence. And the key phrase here is the power of spiritual ancestry.
And then the next degree, Sagittarius 15, the groundhog looking for its shadow on Groundhog Day, February 2nd. Keynote, the value of anticipating new turns of events and ascertaining future prospects. The key phrase is the new science of perspective.
So remember, we just saw this intelligent foresight, and now we see Groundhog Day here, anticipating future events and ascertaining future prospects. Intelligent foresight. See, so we have a similarity there between these two. A theme here is starting to build.
Absolutely. Okay. Now we're going to go on to the Gemini Sun at 20 degrees, and I'll let Justin start.
Yeah, Gemini 19 is a large archaic volume, reveals a traditional wisdom. And the keynote here is they're contacting this unconscious collective mind underlying any cultural and personal mentality. And the key phrase here is seed knowledge, the knowledge of the structure of cycle and cosmic manifestations of life on this planet.
And then Gemini 20, a modern cafeteria displays an abundance of food, products of various regions. And the keynote is the assimilation of multiple knowledge through the synthesizing power of the mind. And the key phrase is assimilation, and to also the potentiality of waste.
And then Gemini 21, which is what the sun is moving towards, is a tumultuous labor demonstration. Sound familiar to what's going on? The revolutionary impact of mental concepts upon the collective emotions and desires of man. Again, we can think of the Jupiter in Cancer, that collective emotions and mental concepts. And here we have a key phrase, a new approach to problems resulting from individualization, Saturn in Aries, and emotional outburst, Jupiter in Cancer.
Thank you for adding that extra. And then the moon at 20 degrees Sagittarius. Sagittarius 19, the lead up is pelicans menaced by the behavior and refuse of men seek safer areas for bringing up their young. And the keynote is the need for people concerned with the future to discover a new way of living in more wholesome surroundings. And the key phrase is survival is of extreme importance.
And again, here we have something talking about future prospects, intelligent foresight, Sagittarius 20. In an old fashioned northern village, men cut the ice of a frozen pond for use during the summer. You might remember earlier we were talking about them cutting down trees for wood. Now we're here, we're cutting up ice. And it said the foresighted use, again, of natural resources to supply future needs. And key phrase here is actively planning for future need, assuring supply.
And then the next degree, Sagittarius 21, a child and a dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. Keynote, the use of imagination and make believe in anticipating higher stages of development. And the key phrase is the value of learning through imitation. So it's like, prepare to take care of yourself, having the needs. It talks about survival, it talks about wood, it talks about um, planning and using the ice to have cold. So that's really interesting that we, kind of have this theme going through everything. Would you like to add anything?
Well, this I think really represents, if we go back to the favorable activities and we think about these Sabian symbols, we see here this exploration, and we see the caregiving, which is responsibility, and we see a lot of what we saw in favorable activities. We saw in the Sabian symbols to how the collective is going to react to things. And I love a lot of times the Sabian symbols because it really gives us a sense of particular themes that will come up in the collective. And for example, we got a labor demonstration there, and we're just about ready to jump into a whole weekend of demonstrations. This is huge. I mean, so a lot of times there's going to be actual, like literal things that come out in the Sabian symbols, but it also kind of talks about what the underlying philosophical theme of what's going on in the collective at the time, which is really right now is this change and this power issues and people concerned about their future needs. A lot of that is what's being reflected as we see in the Sabian symbols.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. So the Sagittarius full moon is at 20 degrees Sagittarius in 39 minutes. And here the sun and moon are opposite each other. And it happens on June 11th at 12:44 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time and 3:44. It should be a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I made an error there. So not too many hours from now. It's like we're, in that lead up for sure, I would say.
Yep.
And here's some aspects with the moon. We have a trine to Mars in Leo, a trine to Chiron in Aries, a square, which really works out to a mutable grand cross with the sun and moon opposite each other and the nodes of the moon, the south node and the north node opposite each other. And then we have a sesquiquadrate to Venus. So go ahead and jump in, talk about whichever aspect you like.
Well, the one that jumped out to me really that kind of is really reflected what's going on in the collective right now is the moon squaring Mars here, because this means emotions. This is a fiery moon with a fiery Mars. And so this, whenever moon trines Mars in two fire signs, this creates a very direct and assertive energy. very direct and assertive. So we're going to see people being emotionally more direct and more assertive at this particular time. So that was one of the things that jumped out to me. What about you?
Well, yeah, because it's like I would say Mars is about action and drive and then that emotion. So it's like our emotions can get us to act too. So both of them together, that's, pretty active at this point. And then um that trying to Chiron, the wounded healer, so some people possibly are like, well, this is affecting me this way, and I'm afraid how that's gonna work out in the end, or so there's a lot of emotions being driven at this point. So I would suggest, slow down, try to process it, think about it, take a few breaths. You can still protest, you can still take action, but is it the action you really want to take? And just think about what you're doing, and don't get carried away and roll with something that maybe you would regret later.
So, from a mundane astrology perspective, Sagittarius can represent immigrants and foreign because it rules the ninth house, which is foreign lands and so on and so forth. And we've seen that in the Sabian symbols. A lot of times in Sagittarius, there's some of the archetypal themes in Sagittarius with the Sabian symbols is immigrants. And it's interesting here, we see the moon in Sagittarius representing the emotion of immigrants here. And it is squaring Chiron in Aries, which is, as we've talked about in prior shows, that wound of valuing the individual. And so this can represent really sort of, like you're saying, people that are fearful or scared about, and those emotions welling to the surface about, racism or how people are not being valued. I think it's really representative of this moon squaring Chiron here in Aries.
Well, and we are a country that is made up of immigrants, really. I mean, so we all have come from immigration at some point in our lineage. Some people, it's way farther back than others. So that's a big issue at this time. So,
Yeah, I think people forget about that.
exactly, exactly. And then I would say that mutable grand cross that's happening in the sky, um, it's like what in the past, what from our past is it time to let go of? What is it from the past that we can learn from, and how can we move forward in the future, um, in a balanced and proper way of things that we can grow?
I'll just make one. I agree, and I would just say one thing about the Sabian symbol. I mean the nodal axis here. Again, we're dealing with at this particular period of time fantasy versus reality, and aspirations versus reality, logic and reasoning. That Virgo being discerning, logic and reasoning, and serious versus and purging, versus the Pisces, which just wants to escape and believe anything it wants, and a little bit of fantasy thinking there. So we're, there. I think that we see this dynamic with some people's thinking versus reality right now with this.
Right, right. And then we have a sesquiquadrate from the moon to Venus. So that's a square and a half, 135 degrees. So there's a bit of tension there. And Venus is in her domicile, her favorite sign, or one of the signs that she rules. So she's really happy, but she has a little bit of tension there with the moon. And if it were referring to a person, it could be their emotional nature. It's not exactly blending and matching. So be patient with yourself and with other people. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered that really well.
Okay, and then we have some other aspects here. We have a Thor's hammer. So Juno, the planet of relationships and our oaths and partnerships, is in sesquiquadrate to that Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and sesquiquadrate to the Jupiter-Mercury conjunction. And then Saturn, Neptune is square the Jupiter, Mercury, making that Thor's hammer. And the Thor's hammer can have a certain amount of tension that it's going back and forth. So I liked what you said about, um, are you in a fog? You didn't say it that way, but I'm going to say it that way. Are you in a fog, or are you being real or unrealistic, or in a fog or
Right.
a dream state? And since it's square to that Jupiter, it's like if you are in a fantasy world, it could be making it really, really big fantasy world. And as much as you can pull it back, I would say.
Right.
And I would say watch what you hear, because it might not be the truth or even real. Some of it could be made up or blown out of proportion.
Right. Well, I think this, besides what we'll talk about, the square with Mars and Uranus right now, I think this is the biggest thing. This slide right here really kind of represents what's going on right now, and from a mundane astrology perspective, because that Juno representing all of all the relationships in the collective right now, and you know, Jupiter's going to inflate or expand whatever it touches, right? And so it's got that emotional outburst right now, and it's right next to Mercury. So, a lot of thinking and emotions, and that is squaring with the collective planet Neptune, which is being affected by that controlling dictatorial Mars. And so this is really a difficult Thor's hammer and square about control and power, and there's no outlet, and that I it's this is like something that's building to something big right now, and so it's really a caution as to how we are reacting in our relationships. But from mundane astrology, this is exactly what we see going on in the collective right now, and then it's helped by Pluto squaring Vesta. That we're squaring Vesta. I mean, it's just it's also creating this tension in the collective, and this is a shift. We're seeing a shift right now, but it's really around power and authority, and Jupiter is just making it bigger here.
I like that. Okay, so I think we can go on to the next slide. So we have several aspects here. We have Pluto trine Uranus, Pluto trine Hygeia, Vesta trine Jupiter Neptune, Venus sextile Mercury, and the big one is that Mars square Uranus. So I'll let you start.
Well, this as you and I've talked about before on the show, the trine just means an easy flow of energy. It could be for positive or negative, depending upon how that energy is used. And, we've been dealing with a while right now with this easy flow of disruption with Pluto trining um, Uranus. But the fact that Mars now is the agitator and driver here is coming to square Uranus. This creates a flashbang effect, if I can say. This is again like the inflection point. Something big's going to happen here, and it creates a level of risk and sudden events happen here. So this is a time when definitely, but everybody should just walk slow for the next week and breathe, and don't take any risks with anything, because this is a dynamic of just a lot of powerful energy coming together, creating a flashbang effect.
Yes, be very mindful when you're driving. Don't be in a hurry. If you're late, well, that's just too bad you're going to be late. I heard a story the other day, and it reminds me of this Uranus square Mars. Somebody was late for a job interview, so they're like going down the freeway 100 and some miles an hour, and it's like they told the cops when the cops finally stopped them that, well, I'm late for an interview. I have to get to the interview, and it's like, okay, life's not that important that you have to go over 100 mile an hour to get to something.
Right.
And luckily, nobody was hurt in the process, but it's like, allow extra time, be patient. If you can, allow yourself, a little time out even if you can at
Right.
this
Right.
point, so
Well, and I think for anybody watching the show, you want to know where this Uranus is transiting in your chart, what house, and what house Mars is transiting, that Leo. And this could be the area where you could, if it's affecting any of uh, the the resources houses, the second or eighth house. Be careful how much money you're spending, or sudden whims to go buy something, or be careful if it's in one of the relationship houses. You may have sudden events happen, or with family or relationships. So this is it's kind of neat to know where this is in your chart, because it can create a very sudden dynamic, risk taking, or decision making effect. So this is the time to take things slower and to breathe.
well, and things could break, you know?
Yes, that's true.
I mean, that would be kind of a typical, because Uranus in Taurus is the things the things that we use on a consistent basis. So unexpectedly, in that Mars energy hitting that, it's like, okay, um, it's like maybe you haven't taken care of something as well as you could have, and if you would have taken better care of it, it wouldn't have broke, or it needed to be repaired last week, not this week, because now this week it's broken. So
Right, exactly.
so there's a lot of energy going on. It's a very interesting full moon. Anything else you'd like to say about the full moon?
No, I think that's about it. And for those watching, we're talking about our dishwasher just broke. So this is very indicative of, that's one of the things that happens with Mars squares Uranus. It's sudden change of plans. It's that sudden whoop, takes off in a different direction, or accident happens, or something breaks. And so yeah, so this is a time to breathe and take things slow. And if you're
That's
going to go protest this weekend, take care of yourself, and breathe, and, you know, express yourself.
right, and take water to hydrate yourself and maybe some snacks so you don't
Right.
get heat exhaustion or something. Okay, so I'm going to talk briefly about the lunar phase family or gestation period. Um, Pessin discovered it. It's using the 4 lunar phases: the new moon, or the new phase, the first quarter phase, full phase, and last quarter phase, just like we do with the moon cycles, and breaking them into 9-month intervals. So the new is about beginnings, the first quarter is adjustments, the full phase is realization of the goal, third quarter is reevaluation, continue or finish. And so we're at the full moon phase tomorrow on June 11th, but the new phase started December 1st of 2023 at 20 degrees Sag and 40 minutes. So 1 minute different than what our full moon is tomorrow.
Mm.
And then the first quarter was on September 10th of 2024 at 19 degrees Sagittarius, 0 minutes. And the full moon is at 2039 Sagittarius. And the third quarter will be March 11th, 2026 at 20 degrees Sagittarius and 43 minutes. So it's always really close to the same degree, usually within a degree or two. And if you journal or can reflect back to, what might have been going on in your life in December of the beginning of December 2023, how has that been going? Now you're at the full cycle and it's like, okay, do you continue, or has it been working out? How can you move it forward, or do you even want to move it forward? So I like to reflect back of, what I was doing then. I was making a lot of changes and getting ready to start my YouTube channel. So that's what I can reflect back. Can you reflect back to anything, Justin, or can't think of
No,
it?
not right off the cuff. No.
Okay. And then I like to look at the yearly lunar phase. So the last Sagittarius new moon was on November 30th of 2024 at 9 degrees Sagittarius and 32 minutes. And we're at the full moon phase. So you can do it on a yearly cycle because sometimes it could take the 3 years with a gestation cycle, or it could take a year, or some small tasks can be accomplished in one lunar cycle. So I like to look at the 3 different ones, because lots of times it can give me more information. The gestation cycle is really speaking to me lately,
Mm,
but at different times it might be the yearly one. So it's like I like
right.
to just kind of mention them to share with everybody. Um, oops. So any last thoughts or takeaways?
No, I think, this is really a powerful moon. I mean, back to our favorable activities. Those things is a good time to write, to do some learning, to explore, to travel. Um, so
Yeah, and even if you don't have time to do a long distance travel, it's like maybe visit a different park in your area or a hiking trail in your area and do those kind of things. But, breathe and be mindful and pay attention is what I'm going to say.
yeah, definitely breathe.
So, Justin and I both do consultations. We both have newsletters and YouTube channels. So, we appreciate you contacting us for a consultation and subscribing to our YouTube channels and newsletters. And I'll let Justin talk about his slide.
Yeah, and the best way to find me is on YouTube under Astrological Yogi, and you can email me at justin.lz@gmail.com.
And I have a lot of other shows and topics that we offer. Justin's on a few shows, and so we look forward to having you back. I want to thank all those that have been watching live. I appreciate your support. And Justin and I will be on Talk Cosmos talking about the Cancer new moon, about readjustment on June 15th at 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And you can watch that on my YouTube channel or Justin's. Thanks, Justin, for joining me today. This was great, and we'll be back soon. So we're going to say goodbye for now and see you next time.
And happy full moon.
Absolutely. Thank you.